good morning, and joining us from a Brothers Revival, accomplished bassist David Goldflies. Good morning.
Good morning, Charles. How are you, sir?
Doing good, and glad to have you with us today. A Brothers Revival. It's going to be a flashback experience to the Allman Brothers Band, and you've got some experience there. Even though your nickname is Rook, as in rookie, you've been around the block a couple of times.
Just a couple, yep. Especially with the music of the Allman Brothers Band.
And you spent a number of years as bassist for the Allman Brothers Band. But first, let's go back even before that. In the 70s, picking up the bass guitar, what drew you to that instrument?
Well, I mean, initially I was drawn to the guitar. You know, I was like, hey, I want to play guitar, Dad. I was 14 years old, you know. And he said, no, you don't. I said, I don't. He said, no, you want to play bass. I said, oh, why is that? He said, there's not that many good bass players. You'll always work. I said, well, okay. So I picked up a bass, and I played in my dad's band a little bit, like a little combo. I called it the animal circuit, man. I went to the Elks and the Eagles clubs. The animal circuit when I was 14 to like 16, 17 years old. I learned how to play bass, and I think he was sort of right. I did pretty well with the bass there for a while.
And then you hooked up with Dickie Betts, legendary musicians you crossed paths with. How did that start, where you began running into these guys and playing with them?
It's so funny. It's so funny. It goes back to my dad again. He was a piano tuner. He tuned a piano in Indiana, a little town in Indiana, and the woman's son, whose piano he tuned, said, hey, my son has a studio. Have your son come over and play bass. So I did, and I met David Toller. And David Toller, of course, became Frankie in the Allman Brothers. And his brother was Danny Toller. They call him Dangerous Dan. And that's where I first met. We didn't even know we were involved, but from all those connections, we became, part of the Allman Brothers Band. First Dickie Betts and Great Southern, and then the Allman Brothers.
You have some legendary bass grooves you've recorded over the years. And I have to say that, again, when I mentioned that you're the bass player on Black Betty by Ram Jam, I mean, you got to be looking back at that as that is not only just an amazing song, an amazing jam, but you hear yourself there every time. I mean, that's just the nostalgia alone of just knowing that's a piece of you out there every time that's played. That's got to be incredible.
Like hundreds of millions of times. So just the YouTube video, like all close to 300 million times or something like that. Last time I looked. Yeah, it was amazing, man. I was 18 years old. We went in to cut that track with Bill Bartlett. And then I left and went out with Dickie Betts. The life took a different turn. And then I started hearing Black Betty on the radio. I said, what's this? And Bill had gone and got another band called Ram Jam, but they used the track we recorded of Black Betty. And the cool thing is that we've added that to our set because, I'm me, and I'm leading this band, the Brothers Revival. So we have Black Betty in the set. I thought it was a legitimate thing to throw in there because, I played on Black Betty, man.
And then you got into the Allman Brothers Band, and this leads to what you're doing now, a Brothers Revival. The music sticks with you all the time, of course. I mean, it's got to be tough to separate from some of those great tracks from the Allman Brothers. So you just sort of cling on to that, don't you? You're just like, this is just what I was meant to play.
Well, interestingly enough, for many years it was not. After the band broke up, the Allman Brothers dissolved back in the early 80s, and they reformed later, but I was already on doing other stuff. Really didn't play much Allman Brothers material for a long time. Until a gentleman named Gary Allman, he's a friend of mine who I played some blues festivals with. He's like a distant relative, I believe. He was a distant relative. And we put a little band together called the Allman Goldflies Band. And yes, we did a bunch of Allman Brothers material. That band fizzled out, manager this, gigs that. But I got a call from an agent and said, hey, want to put together a band playing the music of the Allman Brothers and, and put yourself into it? I said, sure. That was back in like 2020, right before COVID hit. We just got it going, and then there was COVID.
Yeah,
great.
Always a bad time to try to launch a band. That just did not work out for anybody.
It wasn't the best. But I'll tell you, coming back to the music after all those years and a whole different musical life, I've discovered so much in that music. And along with myself, playing with Dickie Betts, we have Mike Koch in the band, who was with the Great Southern for about 15 years, a later version than when I was with them. And between us, I call, Mike is my control. If we're doing something and it doesn't feel right, Mike might say, "Hey, Dave, that doesn't quite feel right there," because he really knows Dickie and Dickie's approach to playing. And we joke that we both graduated or at least survived the Dickie Betts School of Rock and Roll. So we feel we have a pretty tight connection to one of the major innovators in that music, and we never cease to use that as our standard for our shows. One of the biggest ones is you never walk through a show. Every show is in the moment. If you walk through a show, you would be fired. So we are always in every moment in every show, which makes every show a little different, which is kind of like the original idea.
It's a lot like the 70s in regards to what it sounds like, but it's probably much easier to wake up earlier in the morning.
It's a lot easier. Well, we have a drug problem. We have a drug problem. Now we take, our statins and our cholesterol pills, Yeah. We definitely have a drug problem in the band. You got to take your vitamin E and your vitamin D, and we got to do all that stuff.
It's better rationed these days anyway, in neat little plastic containers. David Goldflies, bassist and band leader for Brothers Revival, going to be at the Egyptian coming up on Saturday, May 9th. Tickets on sale. You can check that out, look up the Egyptian and find out more. Any special surprises during the show? I know you guys are going for that sort of 70s Southern rock sound, but anything out of the ordinary going to pop up?
Well, what's interesting is that the band has really gotten very good. I'm very happy with my players right now. I've got a lot of young guys that I apparently am mentoring, and we're all very well versed in material, so no two shows are exactly alike. So I can't really tell you everything that's going to happen because it hasn't happened yet. Things I can tell you, you'll hear all the hits like, Ramblin' Man, Whipping Post, Jessica, Blue Sky. But there might be a little bit of Grateful Dead thrown in at some time, definitely Black Betty. And then the arrangements and what we do with them, really, I can't stress enough. Every night is a different show. And we don't always know exactly what's happening. But the band is so good it can turn on a dime, and we can just do interesting and fun. We keep ourselves entertained, too. We're there, too. And we really want to make a great show for ourselves. Apparently that's working because we get great feedback from the audience,
And you can give them feedback directly. Check out the show. Our Brothers Revival going to be at the Egyptian on Saturday, May 9th. Tickets available at egyptiantheater.org. Rook, thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks. Good to talk to you, man. I'll see you up there.